Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. We are going to discuss probably the topic that I get the most phone calls and emails about. And if I asked you to guess, you could probably guess because we have all struggled with it at some point in our time on this earth as a pet owner, and that is housebreaking. And I'm going to break down the steps that I usually share with folks on how to make this much easier. But before we get into this, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, show your love and support, tell people about us because we are growing. We're just 500 members away from giving away our nose work in a box kit. We have a friend that creates these. It's basically everything you need to get started in the sport of scent work. And we've even reviewed this video. We covered the new and improved one on one of our episodes, Creating a Scent Work Champion. So go ahead and check that out. Also, for our members, thank you so much for being a member. We are growing tremendously. We are 140 members away from giving away a exclusive prize just for our members. And if you're a member, especially if you're in the sport of scent work, we are going to give one of our members a workshop. So we are going to travel to your town and do a workshop for you that you can host and actually make money off of. So that is what we are doing right now. We are excited about the workshops. We've traveled all over the country doing these. We actually have one coming up in a couple weeks, folks. A new group of people out in South Dakota, and it is an honor and a privilege to get everybody started on their journey of odor. So, spread the word. Now, let's talk about housebreaking because it can be the most frustrating period of any puppy owner's life. We are trying to establish a routine and fit the puppy's routine into our routine. And this is often a struggle. So we need to understand a few things before we get into this, and understanding a few simple things and making some changes can make this process less stressful. All right, so what we need to understand is that we can actually take advantage of what Mother Nature gives us to start this process off correctly. When we look at dogs as a whole, puppies, when they are born and they start getting to a certain age, they naturally want to be clean. You know, the mother keeps them clean up to a certain point, but once they are able to walk and walk outside of the area where they sleep, they walk away from their area and eliminate. The same thing is in the wild. We look at dens. Everything a dog does is outside of its den. It eliminates outside its den. It mates outside its den. It eats outside its den. So we want to take advantage of what is ingrained in these dogs to make the process easier. So when we get the dog home, obviously they're already on some kind of internal clock, and we have to provide consistency to get these dogs on a routine that works for us. The easiest way to do this that allows for the safest environment for your dog is to crate train the dog. And by crate training, we're just mimicking Mother Nature. We're giving them that safe spot that they can call their own, but we have to understand some certain guide rules. So we'll start with just looking at crates. There are three types of crates, basically. There's wire crates, which some of them are fairly nice. They collapse down. They come with little pull-out trays underneath the bottom and little dividers, so you can buy one crate and as your puppy grows, move the divider. There's hard plastic enclosed crates, and then there are the what I call the mesh crates, the cloth type crates that fold up and people travel, and they look nice and they're easy to store. However, we're talking about a puppy, a rambunctious puppy that's probably going to chew through it, destroy it. So, you know, they're not on my list of crates that I would use. So we talked about wire crates. A lot of people really love wire crates. They have multiple doors. They have a little tray you can pull out in case the puppy does have an accident. And they oftentimes come with dividers, so you're not buying multiple crates. However, you know, the problem I have with them is, one, the more openings you have, the more doors you have, the easier it is for a dog to escape. So they are easier to escape from. They do provide more surfaces for things to get hung up on. And I've actually seen dogs just go off to the side and pee outside of the crate. So I tend to stay away from the wire crates. I like a hard plastic crate. So, but regardless, whatever your choice is, wired or hard plastic, when we pick the crate, we want it to be big enough for the dog to stand up in, turn around, and lay down. Anything bigger, then you are giving the dog a space in which they will just simply go to one end of the crate, eliminate, and then go to the opposite end and lay down. So we want to understand that the dog has to have a space just big enough for them to do the following: stand up, turn around, and lay down. So now that we've selected a crate, whether it's a wire crate or if it's a hard plastic crate, and we have this select size, we need to understand a few things about a crate. One, we're never going to use this crate for punishment. This is going to be your dog's safe zone. So we are going to take the time to slowly introduce the crate and build value for the crate. So everything positive happens. Remember, we are mimicking nature. So this is their den. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to talk about how I introduce the crate and then go from there. So when we're talking about introducing a crate, the first thing I want you to understand is we want to introduce it slowly and make it a positive environment for your dog. Never just shove or force your puppy into the crate. We don't want to put any kind of negative association with the crate. So for me, the first few sessions before I even put the dog inside the crate, I will break down a plastic crate in half and I will turn it into a game. I will lure the puppy into it, let the dog, step in, get a treat, run around it, sniff around it, reward, play games before I put it back together. And then, I'll walk the dog up to the door, open the door up. If the puppy sticks its head in, I want the puppy to investigate. If the puppy sticks his head in and maybe a foot or two, I'm going to reward and I'm going to bring it back out and I'm going to play fun. I'm going to let it have a lot of fun, just positive association. Lots of verbal praise, lots of touch, lots of food. Let the dog go in on its own. Once the puppy goes in, more treats, more reward, more praise. I'll slowly work up to the point where I'll ease the door shut and then I'll open it up and give the puppy the reward. Once everything is to the point that, the puppy's going in, the puppy's going out, and I'll take several sessions of just play with this. I'm going to put something in there like an old t-shirt or a towel. I'm not going to spend in the first few weeks any extravagant amounts of money on a nice fancy bed or anything like that for the dog because it's just going to get dirty and it's probably going to get chewed up. So I want to make this as positive as possible. I want to build a positive association with this from the very beginning. So now that the puppy's entering the crate on its own free will and accord and is settling in, there's a few things I want to do. One, I do not want to put the dog inside the crate with a collar on. I will just take the collars off when I'm crate training because I don't want to take the chance of anything getting hung and then thus creating a panic mode or a negative association for the crate with the puppy. We don't want to do anything to sit the puppy back. This is all about positive association. So I will either take the buckle collar and keep it hooked up to a leash and hang it by the door, or I will simply use a slip lead while I'm potty training. And while we're talking about crates, as we further the education of our dog and we're trying to bring our dog more into our family, there are just wonderful things we can do with the crate. We can do a variation of the place command with the crate. We can send the dog to the crate from a distance. We can train the dog to where the door opens, the dog's sitting there waiting, hook the dog up on the leash, walk out. If you want to learn more about that, I'm going to put a link to a book. It's a wonderful read. It's called Crate Games by Susan Garrett. We will probably do this video in depth a little bit more, talk about crate games and even talk about the place marker, but there are things that we can build upon to help integrate our puppy into our family. So we've got our crate. We've got the puppy, understand the crate. Now it's time to create a routine. And this routine, it takes days to get the puppy on our time schedule from the time schedule he arrived at. Uh, the first thing I want to talk about, though, is how do we establish this routine? And then we're going to talk about how to deal with accidents. So let's talk about replacing that puppy schedule with your schedule. And what I want you to understand is that puppies cannot hold it forever. The rule of thumb is if the dog's 2 months old, 2 hours is about your safety zone. So for every 2 months, you're looking at 2 hours. So 2 months, 2 hours. 4 months, 4 hours. So we kind of use that as a guideline. So once we have that established, there's also some other things that I want to kind of talk to you about as far as the timing of when to take the dog out. But I want to talk about, before we get in that, I want to talk about this. If your dog has an accident, it's not that big a deal. Clean it up. But when we clean it up in the house, we want to use a white vinegar solution or an enzymatic cleaner that takes away any of the smells. When dogs pee in a certain spot, they leave pheromones behind. Now, we will take advantage of this when we go outside and talk about this further, but we want to clean it thoroughly so the dog doesn't go back to that spot. Once again, the link to the product is below in the description. If you're not scrubbing it down completely, the dog's going to be more likely to go to that area. So we have the puppy. We're ready to go in the very early stages. Very young puppy. I'm bringing it home. I'm probably just going to pack the puppy outside and take the puppy outside the door, hook the slip lead on, let the puppy go. I don't want the dog to free roam. When the dog free roams, they can go off. They can pee in a spot. They can poop in a spot. We want to be able to keep an eye on them. So we want to, if the kids want the puppy just hanging out, I'm going to restrict the movement and have baby gates in a certain area, but have the dog to where I can keep an eye on them anytime they're out. So we have the dog out, we're playing with it. Let's talk about times that the dog's gonna go to the bathroom. So let's talk about our schedule, our time schedule. When do we take the puppy out? Well, immediately after waking up. If my puppy's gotten used to going outside at 6 a.m. and I have a lazy day and I sleep until 9 a.m., it's not the puppy's fault, folks. It's my fault because I thought I could sleep in late. We don't get to sleep in late with a baby, and the same thing happens with a puppy. So immediately after waking up, we take the puppy outside. Now, anytime the puppy is playing and gets excited, they're probably going to pee. So we want to take the puppy outside as soon as we wake up. Within 10 to 30 minutes of eating, we want to take them outside. And anytime they have a large amount of water, we want to start taking them outside. We also want to take them outside before we place them in bed. If we're going to be gone any extended amount of times, we want to make sure that we're following our schedule. So, like I said, if the puppy is 4 months old, then 4 hours is our schedule. We're going to set a timer. I'll have a kitchen timer or a timer on my phone set to where I can consistently take the dog outside. When I take the dog outside, I want to do a couple things. One, the dog's going to be on leash. I'm going to take my puppy out to that spot. Wherever that puppy pees, it's going to turn into a huge thing. I'm going to use a high value reward that that dog never gets. And I'm talking about maybe it's chopped up hot dogs, maybe it's freeze dried beef liver. It's going to be a super high value reward that they act like they can't live without. When they go, I'm out there, maybe it's 5:30 in the morning. I don't care what my neighbors think about me. I'm out there in Crocs and basketball shorts. That puppy's going. I'm like, good potty, good potty, good potty. My voice changes. Yes, good potty, good potty, good potty. Yes, yes, I'm marking. I'm giving the treats. I'm petting the puppy. I'm making it a big deal. All the reward is coming in, verbal, touch, food. We're super excited about this dog. Once the business is done, I'm going to go back to my Treasure Island days where that puppy peed. I'm going to take some spray paint. Psh, psh, X marks the spot. Guess what? Now we know where that puppy peed. Because we talked about earlier pheromones, guess what? The puppy's going to be more likely to pee there again, and we're going to take advantage of that and take them right back out to that spot, thus reinforcing where the puppy goes. So we're taking them outside. We're doing our high value. We're Bring him inside. Now, if we're letting the puppy play and he's running around and we catch him in the act, it's not going to be a huge thing. Don't scold the dog. Just simply pick him up, take him outside, small puppy, take him outside, let him finish his business. If he finishes his business, yes, reward and go on about your day. So that's how we deal with it when we're home. But obviously, we can't stay at home all day and we have to work. Most of us have to work. It's just a fact of life. I wish we could be all independently wealthy and never have to work and travel the world, but it doesn't work like that. So, what do I do if I have to go to work? Obviously, with the crate, the puppy's only going to get through so long. So, I'm going to look at alternatives. Hey, can I get home at lunch? In the past, I had the luxury of working a few minutes away from home. Now, I'm working from home all the time. But I would go home during lunch. If my puppy's young and I'm only going every 3 hours, I know that if I take my puppy out at 6 o'clock, I'm going to need somebody to come before lunch. Maybe I can take care of lunch and have somebody come, once or twice before I get home. So I will look into a couple options. Do I have friends? Do I have family members? Are there dog walkers? Because dog walkers in your city, depending on what city you live in, if you're rural, may not be an option, but they do have services. They will come to your house and take your dog outside and allow you to have consistency. Folks, if it's $60 or $70 or even $100, whatever a dog walker charges to come in and do that for you, it's not permanent. It's just temporary. They're going to take care of your dog, and it's better than your dog having an accident and sitting inside of urine and feces, which, if they're not properly clean, could once again affect their potty training. So, you can look into dog walker services. You can also do a combination of crate and puppy pads. And if I were to do this, I would sit it up inside like an X pen and have the small crate in there opened up, have a little section with food and water, and then the puppy pads to where there's no floor showing. That way the puppy could come out, use the puppy pads, the food and water's over here, everything's separate. Now that's another option. I'm not a big fan of the puppy pads, but for small dogs, that really works, and it works well because they're pre-scented with artificial pheromone to help the dog use the bathroom more. People that have, dogs like Yorkies and dogs like that, any kind of toy miniature dog, they're a little bit tougher to potty train because they are very small. That bladder is very small. So, that's a good option for those folks. So we've talked about all the basics here. Selecting a crate, establishing a schedule, how to reward. All right, so in wrapping up this video, there's a lot of information here, folks, and you may have to go back and watch this time and time again. I am going to put a link to a wonderful Kindle book. It's even available on Audible, I believe. The link goes more into detail, but we're going to end with a few simple things. Number one, when in doubt, take that puppy out. Take that puppy outside. Let him use the bathroom. More is better. You can't go wrong. Number two, all right, we want to remember this. This is kind of our golden rule. Those of us that are my age, maybe you're older, maybe you're younger, a lot of us have potty trained children. And how did we do it? We did it through consistency, and we did it through a lot of praise and a lot of reward. Just like we're giving the puppy high value treats, whether it's hot dogs or chicken or, beef liver, whatever it is that they like, that freeze dried food or dehydrated food, whatever the dog acts like he can't live without, we do the same thing with our children. Did we not throw the Cheerios in the toilet? And we said, hey, man, you got to sink the battleship, And they're peeing on the Cheerios, and we're like, oh, who's a good boy? You sank the battleship. You pee-peed in the potty. Who's a big boy? You get the gold star. And hey, here's a new Hot Wheel. Pick out which Hot Wheel car you want. My kids, they went through potty training pretty quick. Peeing on Cheerios and getting Hot Wheels and candy. High value, lots of praise. Consistency. Same thing with dogs. Another thing that can make or break this is the dog's diet. Hey, the saying, we are what we eat. So many times I have people call me and say, oh, my dog, he's poop and he goes in, he does this, he does it. Seems like he's pooping 20 times a day. And then I say, hey, what is the dog food your dog is on? And they start talking about, well, it's this, this, and this. Well, obviously, if it's not a very nutritious source of food, dogs are going to have stomach issues. Just like if I go to McDonald's and I eat a Big Mac and fries and a Coke and get a milkshake, I'm driving down the road. Oh, I got to pull over. Let's find a bathroom, right? I can't do a road trip and go to Jack in the Box and not expect to make a ton of stops. Same thing for your dog. So, just like us, dogs are somewhat wired that way. I feed my dogs raw. I have German Shepherds. I feed them raw. I go to a local lady, all organic. Guess what? Almost overnight, it changes things. One, when they go outside, it's just different. It doesn't have that strong smell. It's almost powdery from the beginning. And you will notice that your dog eliminates less when they are eating highly nutritious food. If they are eating $10 bag of whatever, they're going to go a lot more, just like me. If I'm eating clean fruits, vegetables, lean sources of meat, I'm not going to the bathroom that much. But if I decide to live on fast food, nah, I'm going a lot. So dogs are the same way. So think about that. All right. The other thing is, do not ever punish. Do not punish. Dogs aren't wired like us. If you walk into a mess, clean it up. Use the enzymatic cleaner. Use the white vinegar solution. But do not punish. They don't understand. If you catch the dog in the act, just simply interrupt it. If it's small enough, pick it up, take it out, let it finish its business, and reward. In this aspect, and I always tell people, those of you that have potty trained children, housebreaking a dog's a lot easier because we understand these certain things. Consistency, establishing a timeline, high value reward, praise, not punishment. And above anything else, this is going to be an exercise in patience. And I've thought about doing this video for a long time, and I haven't. But I keep getting calls for it. And, I just said, hey, let's go ahead and do it. I've been spending some time on the membership section. Thank you again for being a member. You don't even have to be in the scent work. You can support this channel. There's a membership part that you join. It's like $2.99 a month. Then we have the upper levels that get a little bit more in detail. We're actually going to take videos submitted from the members and pick one or two a month and address how to fix this dog's behavior. So, thank you so much. Check out that book below. Check out some of the stuff. They're good reads. They'll help you get on the right path with your dog and making your dog become a wonderful member of your family. And I will see you folks next week.